Hello everyone. Today we are going to read lesson 9, The Mind of the Chimpanzee. British primatologist Jane Goodall has devoted her life to the study of primates, especially chimpanzees. She has been studying the behavior of chimpanzees in the Gombe Game Reserve in Tanzania since 1960. Read on to find out what she has to say about their intelligence. Section 1. Animals are much smarter than scientists used to think. I was told at school that only human beings have personalities, can think and reason, feel pain, or have emotions. Luckily, as a child, I had spent hours learning about animal behavior from my dog Rusty, so I knew none of that was true. The more we have learned about chimpanzees, the clearer it is that they have brains very much like ours and can, in fact, do many things that we used to think only humans can do. The Gombe chimps use grass stems and twigs to fish termites from their nest. The chimps also use long smooth sticks to catch vicious biting army ants. They use crumpled leaves to soak up water from hollows in trees that they cannot reach with their lips, then suck the homemade sponge. They wipe dirt from their bodies with leaf napkins. They use stout sticks to open up holes in trees to get at nests of birds or honey, and as clubs to intimidate one another or other animals. They pick up and throw rocks as missiles. In other parts of Africa, chimps have different tool using behaviors. For instance, in West Africa and parts of Central Africa, they use toe stones, a hammer, and an anvil to crack open nuts. It seems that infant chimps learn this behavior by watching the adults and then imitating and practicing what they have seen. So the chimps have their own primitive culture. Many scientists are finding out more about the chimpanzee mind from tests in captive situations. For example, chimps go and find sticks to pull in food that has been placed outside the cage beyond their reach. Chimps can join two short sticks together to make one long tool. They have excellent memories. After 11 years of separation, a female named Vashu recognized the two humans who had brought her up. A chimp can plan what he or she is going to do. Often I have watched a chimp wake up, scratch himself slowly, gaze around in different directions, then suddenly get up, walk over to a clump of grass, carefully select a stem, trim it, and then travel quite a long way to a termite mound that was out of sight when he made his stool. Section 2. Chimpanzees can be taught to do many of the things that we do, such as riding bicycles and sewing. Some love to draw or paint. Chimps can also recognize themselves in mirrors, but they cannot learn to speak words because their vocal cords are different. Two scientists, the Haysees, brought up a little chimp named Vicky and tried to teach her to talk. After 8 years, she could say only 4 words, and only people who knew her could understand even those. Infant chimpanzees are adorable and for the first 2 or 3 years are gentle and easy to handle. Alan and Beatrix Gardner got an infant chimpanzee, named her Washu, and began teaching her the American Sign Language as used by deaf people. Then other infant chimps were taught this language. Chimps can learn 300 signs or more. They can also invent signs. The chimp Lucy, wanting a Brazil nut but not knowing its name, used 2 signs she knew and asked for a rockberry. A fizzy soda became listen drink, a duck on a pond, waterbird, and a piece of celery, pipe food. Vashu's adopted son learned 58 signs from Vashu and 3 other signing chimps by the time he was 8 years old. He was never taught these signs by humans. Other chimps have been taught computer languages and can punch out quite complicated sentences. These experiments have taught us and continue to teach us more and more about the mind of the chimpanzee. Unfortunately, chimpanzees, so like us in many ways, are often very badly treated in many captive situations. Chimpanzees were first brought to Europe from Africa in the middle of the 17th century. People were amazed by these human like creatures. They dressed them up and taught them tricks. Since then, we have often treated chimpanzees like slaves, shooting their mothers in Africa, shipping them around in the world, caging them in zoos, training them to perform in movies and circuses and advertisements, selling them as pets, and imprisoning them in medical research laboratories. Some chimps became famous. J. Fred Muggs starred on TV's Today Show for years and was known by millions of viewers. What they didn't know was that whatever one J. Fred Muggs got too big and strong for the show, he was replaced by a younger one. A young male called Ham was sent up into space. He was sent up in a Mercury Redstone rocket in January 1961. And because he survived the ordeal, he was terrified. It was decided that it was safe for the first human astronaut. Section 3. It is because their bodies are so like ours that scientists use chimps to try to find out more about human diseases and how to cure and prevent them. It is very unfair that even though chimpanzees are being used to try to help humans, They are almost never given decent places to live. Hundreds of them are shut up in 5 into 7 bare steel barred prisons, all alone, bored and uncomfortable. Measure out this space and imagine having to live in it your entire life. I shall never forget the first time I looked into the eyes of an adult male chimpanzee Jojo in one of these labs. For more than 10 years, he had been living in his tiny prison. The sides, floor, and ceiling were made of thick steel bars. He lived at the end of a row of 5 cages lined up along a bare wall. There were 5 more cages on the opposite side. At either end of the room was a metal door. There was no window. Jojo could not touch any of his fellow prisoners. Only the ends of his fingers fitted between the bars. He had been born in an African forest, and for the first couple of years he lived in a world of greens and browns, leaves and vines, butterflies and birds. His mother had always been close to comfort him until the day when she was shot and he was snatched from her. The young chimpanzee was shipped away from his forest world to the cold, bleak existence of a North American research lab. Jojo was not angry, just grateful that I had stopped by him. He groomed my fingers where the ridges of my cuticles showed through the surgical gloves I had to wear. Then he looked into my eyes and with one gentle finger reached to touch the tear that rolled down into my mask. In the United States, several hundred chimpanzees have been declared surplus. They are no longer needed for medical research. Animal welfare groups are trying to raise the money to build them sanctuaries so that they can end their lives surrounded by grass and trees, sunshine and companionship. Some lucky ones, including Jojo, have already been freed from their laboratory prisons. Many others are waiting. So this was the reading of our lesson 9, The Mind of Chimpanzee. If you have any doubt or query, you can ask me in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to check the description box for the links to the other chapters. Thank you everyone.